Gia, the debate around schools, big topic on the national level. Yesterday, President Trump said that he may even cut funding to schools that don't open up in the fall. So, do you agree with that statement from the president? You can weigh in on this conversation right now on our KARE 11 social pages. Meanwhile, the president took his frustrations out in a series of tweets online, with his first reading in part. In Germany, Denmark, Norway, Sweden, and many other countries, schools are open with no problems. He also repeated his claim that Democrats want to keep schools closed for political reasons and not because of any risks associated with the coronavirus. In another tweet, President Trump says that he disagrees with the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention's recommended guidelines for reopening in the fall because they are, quote, very tough and expensive. He went on to say the CDC is asking schools to do very impractical things. Now, the CDC is recommending that students and teachers wear masks whenever feasible, spread out their desks, stagger schedules, eat meals in their classrooms, and add physical barriers between bathroom sinks. The CDC's director, Dr. Robert Redfield, said that these are just recommendations and that, quote, nothing would cause me greater sadness than to see any school district or school use our guidance as a reason not to open. Meanwhile, the president has said that he's going to be putting a lot of pressure on our state's governors to reopen the schools this coming fall. But Gia, there's still a lot of skepticism from health officials and those in the education field, with many thinking that President Trump is focusing more on the political side of this debate rather than the health and safety of students and staff.
Yeah, this debate is definitely not over. If anything, it is just beginning. Alicia, thank you.